Hello everybody, I'm Lisa Duvall. I'm the director with the Coney County Parks and Recreation Department. I'm here today with Mincy Moffitt and with Anna Yellen from the Georgia Department of Natural Resources, as well as Mary Howard, our Senior Center Director here in the county. And we are here to tell you about something that we're excited about here at Coney Veterans Park, where we have established a garden here for pollinators. So it's called Connect to Protect program, and it helps to promote our native species as well as our native plants here in the community. So I'm going to let them tell you a little bit more about the collaborative project.
Hi, I'm Mincy Moffitt with the Georgia Department of Natural Resources, and we are out here at the Oconee Veterans Park looking at a newly installed native plant garden for the University of Georgia State Botanical Gardens Connect to Protect program. And the Connect to Protect program is about providing these beautiful displays of native plants and also educational materials to help foster an understanding of the role that native plants play in maintaining healthy ecosystems and biodiversity in these urban and suburban landscapes of Georgia. One thing that I wanted to mention is that the purpose of this garden is many-fold. The first thing to understand is that native plants and native insects are very important for each other and for higher organisms. Insects need plants for food, plants need insects for pollination. The higher vertebrates, mammals, birds, amphibians, reptiles, fish, they all require insects as a component of their diet to be able to successfully reproduce and survive. And of course, humans require the ecosystem services of the pollinators to pollinate the world's food supply. About 2/3 of the world's crops are pollinated by insects. So we can see that connection between native plants and native insects. Something to think about is that non-native plants do not provide food for native insects. So native insects are not going to necessarily love those shrubs and trees that are ornamental and are highly sought in the fully landscaped environment, but they're not native, and the native insects didn't evolve with these species, so they actually don't use them for food. And if they don't use them for food, then they're not reproducing, they're not making their caterpillars, and if they're not making their caterpillars, then the animals that eat the caterpillars are starving or not able to find food. We know from studies that baby birds require almost exclusively insect protein for their rearing, and most of that comes from caterpillars, the larval form of insects. In fact, one estimate has it that one clutch of chickadees, which could be anywhere from 6 to 8 to 9, takes 6,000 to 9,000 caterpillars to raise. You think about that, one baby bird requires about 1,000 caterpillars in order for it to fledge and reach maturity. So that is a very large number. The Connect to Protect program is designed, you might wonder, well, what's the whole thing with Connect? What does Connect mean? What is the Connect to Protect? Well, the Connect is getting at connecting the native plants with the native pollinators, but it's also about providing these gardens that you can think of as way stations, as midpoints between larger habitats in the suburban and urban landscapes. So we're connecting those fragmented landscapes. And another thing that we do just through the educational materials is that we're connecting people to nature. So that's a way to think about the Connect to Protect program. This garden behind us took about three weekends to put in the ground. It's 150 square feet. It's got about 120 individual plants, 18 different species, 6 different plant families, and that's important because some plant families are more important to certain kinds of insects than others. We're really heavy here on the mints and on the asters.
One thing I wanted to mention was that this is something you all can do in your own backyards, and that's really important, and that's a big foundation of the Connect to Protect program. This is an educational garden, but you all in your own backyards can be conservationists. Insects are really tiny and they reproduce really quickly, and they're very specific to these native plants. So you might say, like a honeybee, we have pollinators, white honeybees, aren't those great? But honeybees, there's several things. One, a honeybee isn't going to have caterpillars on these plants for the baby birds. And also honeybees aren't necessarily going to to pollinate these plants because they weren't specific. They're actually from Europe, and they're not specific to these particular plants. It's estimated that about 3 times the number of insects are 3 times the native plants, the number of plants are in the insect world because they are so specific, and they're really important for different parts of the plants as well.
The first plant here that I have a sign for is the spiked blazing star, scientific name Lyatra spicata, and it is in the aster family or the composite family, the sunflower family, and it's this group of 5 plants right here. It's a late summer and fall bloomer. It's going to send up some spikes about 2.5 feet tall that'll be very congested with lots of small purple flowers that are a favorite of butterflies and other flying insects. A second plant that I have, the second sign that I have is for this plant back here. It's called wild bergamot. That's Monarch fistulosa, and it's in the mint family, and it will start blooming probably in early summer. Would you say? I think early summer, and will bloom through the summer and into the fall. And it's one of those plants that the insects just go wild for. It's amazing the number of insects, all of the crazy wasp and flies that you have never ever seen before that will show up on your mint flowers, and particularly one of the ones Anna's going to talk about.
You all have probably heard in the news a lot about the monarch butterfly. Well, they're a migratory species, and as a result, the Connect to Protect gardens are really helpful to them. This plant, the butterfly weed, I'm putting the sign over by, and although monarch butterflies will sip nectar from other flowers, the larvae really need to have milkweed in order to, for the adults to lay eggs on and for the larvae to eat. So milkweed is always an important thing to put in your garden.
And Anna made the point earlier, and I just want to reiterate that one of the points of this is to demonstrate that this is not only a good thing here at Oconee Veterans Park Senior Center, but it's something that would be good in your backyard. It's something that would be good in your business. It's something that would be good in a park near your house. It's something that would be good in a church or a synagogue or a place of worship. Think of any place that you go that you have influence over that has some landscaping. You could take that old, boring, non-native landscaping, and you could do something really creative with it that would benefit biodiversity and help create a healthy ecosystem. So that's one of the take-home messages from this project.
And another is that there at the back of the garden, we have some flowering plants, the hairy spiderwort. And those plants are blooming now, but later in the summer, some of the other plants are going to be blooming. So when you're designing your garden, which this can give you hints at, it's important to consider when these plants are going to bloom so that you can have as long a season as you can to help provide a way spot for the insects that are coming through.
Well, thanks for watching today. We hope that you will consider putting in one of these gardens in your backyard. And remember that this is the University of Georgia's State Botanical Gardens Connect to Protect program. You can go online and Google Connect to Protect, and you can find information about that program.
And you can also reach us at Wildlife Resources Division for Georgia DNR.